What's the deal with comedy? I would rather we not dive headfirst down the rabbit hole and get stuck in philosophical limbo trying to define the parameters for a movie to be considered a comedy. How many jokes per second, cause ultimately there is no real concrete answer. If Wrongton and the supermodels that inhabit it makes you roll on the floor, then that's your type of comedy. I would think you might need some introspection, but then again, I'm trying to break into YouTube, so who am I to give mental stability advice? But we also can't be standing on the edge and have no idea what we're chatting about. So let's take a bit of a break, sit on the edge of said rabbit hole so that we are at least on the same chapter as to what makes a comedy in this context, without scientifically compiling a formula. What I'm talking about is the kind where you can take a scene without any context, plug it into a SNL skit, and if it fits, Bob's your uncle. The kind of movie that was made for a comedian. If you see these guys on a poster and you immediately have an idea of what to expect, that's what I'm talking about here. Are these movies immune to bad writing? Why do I keep watching Anchorman even though they go from realistic events like giving the news to having a full-blown sci-fi brawl in a park with a Minotaur and a ghost? There's no world-building consistency. Character arcs and realism take a backseat, if there even is a backseat in this weird medium. Probably more like a detachable sidecar. Without a shadow of a doubt, any other genre would be pointed and laughed at, and the bad kind of laughed at, if they tried the same shenanigans. But does that mean when a comedy neglects these writing pillars that it's also a bad movie? Well, yes, no. It's not that comedies are immune to bad writing, it's that they have different rules to play by. While other movies are playing the piano, comedy is sitting in the corner with a saxoboom or a triangle. What makes other movies good or bad is not the same as to what makes a comedy good or bad. Austin Powers has every ingredient to be stacked and built into a nothing burger, but there's 3 of these classics, so clearly there's an audience and that audience eats it up. Before you press enter on your comment, I know that the quantity of sequels does not reflect if it's good or bad. I mean, Sharknado has 6 movies. 6! How many times can a shark getting sucked into the air be entertaining? So why can't a comedy be seen as gold when almost every element points in the opposite direction? Well, the answer is rather obvious. It's all about the bit. Everything is there as a setup to make a joke. It all hinges on that bit carrying you to the next scene. There's so much leeway with the general principles of writing because it doesn't matter if there's a crazy park brawl. What matters is how potent your joke smoothie would be if you were to put this scene in a blender. Every scene, every story beat, dialogue, it's all for the bit. Who cares if it breaks down the walls of the world that was created? As long as you slap your knee till it's raw, the risk was more than worth it. But when a comedy has bad jokes like Brother Grimsby, nothing can save it, and the bad written story and character arcs will be used as shovels to further bury the movie. Even if you enjoyed Brother Grimsby, all the power to you, but it wasn't because of the witty dialogue or intelligent spy thrills. If you enjoyed it, it was purely because of the jokes they made. The writing rules are more complicated. It most likely would have been a lot easier if comedy was a checklist of rules you can follow, like a 3-part structure or having characters act logically within their personality, but it's more subjective and nuanced. You can think that a bit is a gutbuster, but your audience doesn't. Or you can simply make an obscure passing comment and have it land a spot in the meme Hall of Fame. Comedy movies are high risk, high reward because everything comes down to the punchline. There's no other genre that has an audience on the extreme sides of the spectrum as much as comedies. You either love them or you hate them. But that doesn't mean that all comedies are devoid of good writing. The comedy aspect is so versatile that you can have comedy stand on its own as the main attraction or have it as a sideshow. This is where we start to move away from the SNL type comedy and into the different types of comedy. There is no one exhaustive list of all types I can give you. It's like modern genders. If you are creative enough, you can just create more. You can create a false sense of security and then hit your audience with the existential dread about the fragility of time, or have an eerie horror comedy like Hot Fuzz, leaning more into the visual comedy, which can be just as potent. It doesn't even have to be a joke blasted into your ear holes. Edgar Wright's heavy reliance on the visual comedy to the point where dialogue would accomplish very little on its own, and if you were to miss the visual comedy, or it is something that doesn't click with you, then the movie as a whole loses a lot of the weight it carries, even though the writing is excellent. There are different types of visual comedy. Something simple like a buddy that doesn't want to drink with everyone on a bar crawl can be hilarious through ingenious editing. or being totally oblivious to a zombie apocalypse, replacing what would otherwise be dialogue without a word and still getting the joke or story across. You can also have visual comedy in the realm of physical movements like Mr. Bean and Buster Keaton, where the entire joke is just the way they carry themselves in the scene. Apart from some stinkers out there, I really enjoy the comedy genre as a whole. I think a big part of that is because I'm impressionable, the good kind where you throw down some karate moves after watching a Jackie Chan movie. Comedy doesn't take itself too seriously. There's a quality to comedy that makes you see life in a different way, that makes problems seem a bit less menacing. It's not going to solve those problems. Your job doesn't sort itself out because you put a whoopee cushion on your boss's chair, but it's infectious. Rough moments in life, even terrible situations, has something that you can laugh at. Well, probably depends on how damaged you are. As long as we have comedians making the jokes they want to make without having to apologize, and making these outrageous jokes in movies that ensure people don't become self-absorbed, self-righteous tyrants, I think we'll be alright. That's why I have a love for comedy and always will. Even when I don't like the joke for whatever reason, I think it's good to take a punch every now and then. Keeps you grounded. Just in case you don't think I've said the word comedy enough in this video, this part is for you. Comedy, 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 comedy.